there he is. Okay, we are back, guys. 5 weeks football here on the 5 weeks random football, guys. It's been a while. Happy New Year to everybody and to all the listeners and the viewers. I wish you guys a happy New Year. Hopefully, it gets a little better in 2020. To Manny, Kai, Martin, and Paul, happy New Year. We had a bang.
Happy New Year, guys.
We got
Austin, I don't mean to cut you off, but you sound very distancy.
Distant? Oh, okay. I'll figure it out in a minute.
Right there, you sound better. You sound better right there. Do not move.
Okay. All right. We gotta
Do not move. We're not gonna fire you. We're not gonna fire you on like a team today. We're not gonna fire you. Don't move.
Well, did he get fired or did he mutually part ways? That's something
man. Let's not beat around the bush with this.
All right. So Diego Alonso is no longer the manager at Inter Miami. Obviously, we know a couple weeks ago the story was reported and then taken away after the meeting and the miscommunication from Alonso. And he told his team, he told his players, he told his staff, he told the media that he was fired. And then Inter Miami said, no, we didn't fire this guy. Don't know how that happens, but it's obviously been a shit show for a while now. And before I give my thoughts on what happened and what's happening and if I think it's the right move, Manny, you're part of the supporters group. Martin's followed it closely. Paul, Kaya followed Inter Miami closely. Whoever wants to start, I want to get your thoughts on Diego Alonso. And one, was he done unfairly? And two, if he wasn't and you think he should have been fired, why? And then who do we bring in? How do you replace a proven winner like Diego Alonso?
All right, I'll start because Uruguay is neighboring to Argentina, and that allows me to claim the starting position in this debate. Look, Diego, because it's geographical, man. You don't laugh at me. I may be in the United States, but as an Argentinian, I feel for Uruguay right now. That I'm sure that they're so heartbroken that Diego Alonso was let go by Inter Miami. I'm sure that Peñarol and Nacional fans are just distraught right now. They don't know what to do with themselves. But Diego Alonso and Inter Miami mutually parted ways just as much as Chan Gailey and the Miami Dolphins mutually parted ways. Just as much as Chan Gailey retired, Diego Alonso mutually parted ways with you're with the Dolphins gear there. But the fact is that Inter Miami's organizational structure is in shambles. So we praise the Dolphins for what they have achieved after 2 decades of chaos with Greer, with Flores, with the foundation of what seems to be something solid. Inter Miami runs the risk of being so much less of what the Heat and the Dolphins have, especially the Heat. The role model for Inter Miami needs to be the Miami Heat. The culture, Pat Riley, Eric Spoelstra, a team that only has had, Riley, Van Gundy, Spoelstra, 3 coaches in the past 20 years. That's your model. Multiple championships, organizational soundness. But no, you choose to just tear everything apart after a playoff appearance. And nobody knows what's going to happen next. So what's the deal here? Because David Beckham needs to come out and say something publicly, bring out some kind of mission statement for Inter Miami. Because otherwise, Inter Miami is on its road to become the Florida Panthers, and that will be sad. Or even worse.
Let me rebuttal against Martin. Let me rebuttal against Martin before everybody else gets to go. I want to say a couple things. First, yes, this was a playoff team. They came in 10th place, though, out of 14 teams in the conference. Their record was 7 wins, 3 draws, and 13 losses. You cannot tell me that is enough. Now, before I go on, I want to say this. I support Diego Alonso. I think he should still be the manager, but I understand what's happening. Yes, it was a playoff team. Do I think Diego Alonso should have stayed? Also, yes. I just don't see, like you said, the structure is gone. There's no COO, there's no sporting director, there's no technical director, and now there's no manager. And you're entering another offseason where you need to start bringing in players within 2 months when you need to start training again, which I think that's when they want to start doing. I mean, at this point, they should have already started training, but obviously with the pandemic, but you're going into another offseason like you did in your expansion year without somebody who you don't know what style you're going to play. Now, there were reports, I want to say this before we move on, that Phil Neville, Gary Neville's brother, coach of the England women's national team, is reported they've been in talks for him to come here. Played with David Beckham at Manchester United for, I think, like 9 years, a long time.
They won it. Look, they won it all at Manchester United, but Inter Miami can't become a country club, a French club. Let's bring in Gonzalo Higuain's brother. Oh, look, I know this guy that I used to play with. Let's bring him in. That's not serious. That's not a serious team.
But that's what happens. That's exactly because David Beckham brings in old teammate Blaise Matuidi, who brings in old teammate Gonzalo Higuain. The head coach Diego Alonso brings in ex-player Rodolfo Pizarro. I mean, Paul McDonough at his time in Atlanta brings in LGP. It's all the same. Everybody, it's all connected in some way. It's all the same thing with I think Ben Sweat had time with McDonough when he was at USF or something like. There's so many different like connections. They're not the only person, but the main person that they brought away that didn't have any connections with anybody was Lewis Morgan. And guess what? That's your MVP.
But look at how LAFC in just 3 years, by having a serious approach to team building, they got Carlos Vela, they got their franchise player, but they surrounded him with a solid foundation. And they were 15 minutes away from going to the Club World Cup, and they are just in their third year of existence, their first CONCACAF Champions League appearance, and they eliminated Cruz Azul. They eliminated a giant like America. And they were 15 minutes away from winning against a team that had Andre Pierre Guignac and a whole slew of players that will be top tier right here in the MLS. So why can't Inter Miami be LAFC? Because right now we are light years away from that.
Light years. I agree. It is light years away. Manny, Kai, Paul?
I guess I'll go first. I feel like, the report was that it was a mutual separation between the two, but I do really think it's more of a culmination of just the turmoil that's kind of surrounded just, the initial firing of Alonso, along with just maybe media pressure and probably just the pressure that Beckham has felt building this franchise from the ground up. Because we all kind of felt like this whole process was really, really rushed. I mean, they still haven't figured out the whole home stadium situation. We don't know if they're going to lock down that area near the airport and stuff like that. And I feel like it's I don't know. I'm with you, Austin, on this, where I feel like it's a little unfair to judge Alonso after just 1 year, especially with COVID pretty much keeping like half the team out for a little bit. And I don't know. And I remember you brought this up in one of our shows too, where maybe we should give Diego a chance at bringing in players that more so fit his style, rather than kind of bringing him at the very end where there's kind of already a set roster. And plus, I mean, you got to account for guys like the star players like Matuidi and Higuain kind of coming in mid-season. I know Matuidi didn't really have much trouble finding his form, but I know Higuain is still kind of like iffy. But I don't know. It's been a weird 1 or 2 years, since they kind of really started building this. I don't know. They got to the playoffs. I mean, but still, I don't know. It just feels like there's not, like Martin said, there's not really a good foundation right now, and I feel like they're still a few years away from really legitimizing themselves as a solid MLS team.
Right now, you have almost. I'm not going to say you have no front office, but it's very depleted at the moment. And you also don't have a manager to roster. You have about 17 or 18 players. You have like half a roster. It's kind of a mess, and you're potentially 2-3 months away from the start of the season. We're almost in the same situation as last year. And when Diego Alonso was brought in with these players that he wasn't familiar with, we're in this situation. That's what it's led up to. So it's tough to think about, and hopefully something gets done soon. If they can bring in Phil Neville right now, I mean, if you can do it, go ahead and do it, and then let him do whatever scouting or whatever he needs to do. If he needs to bring in some European talent, if he needs to bring in freaking Lucy Bronze from the England women's national team, go ahead, bring her in. Like, just do something that fits the coach's style because I don't want to have another 2020 MLS season with Inter Miami and go through that again.
Can we get Lewandowski for about like we got him like a really nice condo in South Beach, and then like we make him part owner of like a Polish sausage place, you know.
You could get
And
him.
then
You
that
can-
pays for itself. You can tell him the investment. You can be in Munich or you can be in Miami.
It's
Munich,
okay.
Miami.
You can get him after he's done terrorizing Europe and he's 37 years old, and he'll come down here and score some goals.
Oh,
and then
stop whining, you
go
Bayern
out of
guy.
it. Listen, bro, if you can sit here and tell me that he's not the best player in the world in terms of last
Oh,
season.
oh my God.
Anyways, I'm talking about last season. Anyways, with Diego Alonso, I know Austin. I heard what you said this morning. Talking with Ethan. Thank you for having him talk soccer. By the way, I guess it had to be Diego Alonso being out for that to happen.
I mean,
but
the man literally does a show at the stadium every day, right? I mean, come on.
He knows. Listen, we're working on it. We're working.
Hey, look, I'll quote what Big O said towards the end of the show, which was the younger ones are the ones in soccer, and I guess that's all of us. So, I had kind of mentioned when Ethan had asked like what I thought of the situation is just like you hope that you can get the right people in place, or hope that when you get the right people in place, you have the ones in place to make sure that you can get a solid foundation starting. I think a lot of us are disappointed just because there was so much hype. And as we've discussed that multiple times on the show, maybe they played too early, maybe they had come in too early. And I think one of the things, and you pointed that out with kind of the Atlanta United thing and, bringing LGP here, but even just with Atlanta United itself and even LAFC, they've kind of just destroyed the blueprint of what to expect from an expansion team because, I mean, I think it was the second year for Atlanta United, the third year that they won the MLS Cup. I'm not saying that it's, you should be, coming out the gates in your first season, but I think that, in Miami, some of them, there are, fair weather fans and they expect success. And when you see something like an Atlanta United and they had guys like LGP, Miguel Almiron, Josef Martinez, who were there, and LAFC has their guys. And of course, Carlos Vela is their star guy, their franchise guy. But I think it just puts some things in a bad light just because they'll say, oh, well, this expansion team did it. And they're successful.
I give you a counterpoint. Minnesota United, one of the worst expansion teams that MLS has ever seen. In 4 years, they make a Western Conference final and almost beat Seattle to go on to the final. Manny, I'm going to turn this question to you, or this way. Do you see in 3 years Inter Miami, at the trajectory they're going now, making an Eastern Conference final?
I mean, how can you even think that right now at this point?
It's hard.
This team feels more like a YMCA club than an organization. You cannot despite all the flaws, right? You still made the playoffs. Yes, it wasn't based off points, right? It was based off of whatever they ended up doing it by. Because damn, we had 13 losses. I mean, Jesus, for an MLS team to make the playoffs with 13 losses, you know what I'm saying? That's just very rare. But still, you made the playoffs nonetheless. There is no news yet on what's going to happen with the stadium in Miami. You let go of the one gentleman that was in charge of bringing in players. You then have a mix-up in communication with the head coach, which he thought he was let go, and then he was told, oh, no, wait a minute, that's not the case. A month and a half later, or however long it was, now he's officially out. The season begins in 3 months. David Beckham's trying to recruit a friend overseas. Half of these guys feels like they're getting promises to play with friends or anything or, something along those lines instead of it being, to me, right? Instead of me seeing it controlled as a business. And I don't know where to begin. I'm hurt. I've had private talks with Diego. I wish him nothing but the best, but maybe this was the best for him, man. I mean, you look at the club right now, and it's like, listen, if you see, what this guy has done in other clubs, right? And yet you've seen what he had to work with this season, and for him to get this far, because to me, it's still a productive season. Not to mention COVID, for crying out loud. I mean, you're asking an expansion team that played pretty well their first 2 games, and all of a sudden have to shut it down. Then they, the bubble in Orlando and the results and then, the results in Orlando were not great. But this team answered when they came back, right? This team came back, beat Atlanta, finally beat Orlando, twice? Like, those are things that you should be taking as positives. And instead of us moving forward, like I said, you don't have a personnel person picking players. You don't have a head coach now, and it just looks like a YMCA type of deal, man. And it's sad. It's can this team make an Eastern Conference? Yeah, but unfortunately, Atlanta has raised the bar in such a level that it's difficult to do. Like, it's not like Inter Miami has all this money, right? Because this was the selling point, right, Austin? It's Miami. Players will come. What type of player would want to come to this team right now?
Let me put
this too. Wait, let me
put
this. You have 3 DPs: Gonzalo Higuain, Rodolfo Pizarro, Matthias Pellegrini. You can't bring in any big money guys anymore. It's over. That's done. You have gutted half of your roster. Only half of them are coming back officially. You have no starting left backs. You don't know who's going to start at right back. You don't have a midfield pairing next to Metsui. You don't have a left winger. You don't have a goalkeeper. You're not set on your starting goalkeeper. I've heard Romero rumors. I've heard the guy from Everton, backup rumors, him coming in. You have nothing to build off of from last year. And yes, like Manny said, there were positives. I will 100% agree there were positives, and it's the reason why I back Alonso in the first place. He's a proven winner, and he showed a lot this season despite all of the circumstances.
Yeah, Austin, we
actually
talked about it on our last show. It's not like Diego was given everything he needed, right? Because there's one thing, there's wants and needs. I just feel like he wasn't given an opportunity to finally put his stamp on his team, man, and for him to get shown the door. And yes, he resigned. I am not a firm believer in that, but of course it is. I don't know the official reports, but you can't give a coach 1 year like this, man, and expect a freaking championship title. You just can't. And
I believe we all said,
yeah.
I believe we all said 1 year, one more year.
One more year.
We all said that.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Warren. Go ahead.
Yeah.
Guys, I'll give you 3 names that Inter Miami could think of, and I hope that they will be able to afford them. Christian Pavone right now is, for all intents and purposes, a free agent. Yes, he has a contract with Boca, but he doesn't have any intention of playing in Argentina. He wants to be back in MLS. Boca is asking for $10 million. I think for $10 million, you take it and you buy 80% of his fee, and you pair him up with Pavone and Pizarro. That would be dynamic, because he was really an MVP for LA Galaxy, regardless of how bad LA Galaxy did, but that was because of their defense, not because of their offense.
Their defense has been trashed for years now.
Then
Lonzo doesn't play defense, man.
Exactly, but that's a topic for another day. Then in Boca you also have a right back called Julio Buffarini. He won the Libertadores with San Lorenzo in 2014. He's a quality right back. His contract with Boca expires on June 30th. He's not gonna renew, so you could have him for about $2.5 million. And I'm even exaggerating on that. You could put 1.5 and you have him, okay? And he's only 31 years old. And then you look towards Brazil, and you put up about $8 million for Caio Jorge. He's a very good offensive midfielder. He plays for Santos, and he's someone that is developing right now in Brazilian football. And I don't know if he has European ambitions right now, but maybe for the right amount of money and with the opportunity of showcasing him for European clubs, because MLS has shown that they can send players to Europe to start with, like recently. So maybe you get him, and all of a sudden, right there, you have 3 players, 1 experienced and 2 younger ones that can really make a quality jump for your team. But does Beckham have the scouts or the intelligence in South America needed to bring those players here, or to know their situations? Because I follow.
He's looking over seas.
But you're not gonna bring so you want to bring a retired European player here? Like you want to go after Cavani again? Because that's not gonna happen.
We don't have a general manager.
Here's the thing about
And stop it with the Messi. Stop it with the Messi fairy tale, okay? Messi is not coming to the MLS before December 2022. He's not gonna take a dip in competitiveness right now, only 18 months away from the World Cup, and knowing that the brand of World Cup qualifying starts in March. and you know who Argentina is going to play in March in weeks 5 and 6 of World Cup qualifying? Uruguay and Brazil. You think Messi is going to leave Barcelona now in January and come to the MLS to basically take no, he's not trying right now. Argentina is first in World Cup qualifying. What are you talking about? But
You guys were
he's
first
not.
last time too, and it don't matter.
No, but Peru has 1 point out of 12. That's another.
All right, he's out. He's out. He's out.
Okay, let me.
4 points out of 12. He's not coming to Inter Miami before 2023. Forget about it. It's a pipe dream. Okay,
That's fine.
so
Yeah, it is.
you need to scout South America and get the players that are desperate to be paid in dollars, because that's the bottom line. They're not gonna come to the MLS for the competitiveness. They want to be paid in dollars, and you can guarantee that here.
But you don't have that. No, you don't have the money anymore. That's the problem. You paid all you're paying all of your DP money to Matthias Pellegrini, to Gonzalo Higuain, to Pizarro. You're spending all of your targeted allocation money.
So you sell them. What? You think that it's impossible to sell them? You can sell them even if you have to take a loss. You sell them.
Inter Miami had 3 of the top 10 selling jerseys in MLS: Higuain, Pizarro, and Matuidi. Why in the world would they ever sell somebody who's selling that?
No, I'm not saying you sell Higuain. No, you can't sell Higuain, you can't sell Matuidi, and you can't sell maybe you can sell Pizarro. But I'm saying you can sell Pellegrini, you can sell.
Who?
You can.
He's going to take up a DP slot at every other club because of the contract that we've given him and for the transfer we brought him in for. No other club, unless MLS decides to change its DP rules to having 3 young ones and 3 regular ones. No one's going to take a DP slot for a guy who couldn't perform at all this year. At all, he could not perform. And granted, the kid.
But I'm not saying you sell them to. I'm not saying you sell them to the MLS. You can sell them anywhere. You're forgetting that the MLS is in a regional league. Soccer is a worldwide sport. You can sell them to Turkey. You can sell them to the Arab Emirates. You can sell them to Monterrey, who's looking for a right wing right now. You can sell them.
Make your decision though.
You can sell them to Scottish league. Why are you only thinking about the MLS?
But I'm pretty sure that Gonzalo Higuain, Matuidi, and Pizarro, they were all told, listen, that's not gonna like come on. You don't go in your first year of an expansion team and all of a sudden after 1 year sell these guys to Turkey.
No. I'm not saying no. Matuidi, not Matuidi. Forget about Matuidi, Higuain, and Pizarro. I'm talking about the role players. I'm talking about players
Pellegrini and Carranza.
Pellegrini,
you have a lot of money on those guys.
Pellegrini, Carranza, Luis Morgan showed promise. I'm sure that he will be eager to have another go at. You're telling me, look, Lucas Prato, a 32-year-old backup striker at River, was just sold on loan to Feyenoord in the Netherlands for 6 months. You're telling me you can do that with a Pellegrini or a Carranza to sell to send them on loan somewhere and then have them come back? You can do that. Soccer economics are totally different than the MLS, than the NFL or the NBA. You don't need to match salaries to get a trade
a lot
going.
more restricted because of MLS rules, and they're actually. This is the I correct me if I'm wrong. What other league in the world has a salary cap budget?
No other league. That's why the MLS thinks that it's the NFL, and it's wrong.
It's wrong. I mean, you max out a player that isn't taking up a DP slot at $525,000 or $625,000 salary. They're not touching the millions. You can't get there in the salary. It's mind-boggling to me. I thought for a long time that McDonough structured this the right way. I trusted him because of what he did with Atlanta, and now we're kind of. I mean, I think Manny said the word. We're in turmoil. Like, the club is in turmoil right now. There's nothing to build off of. You have half of your roster. None of them are trustworthy, other than the 3 guys that we've been saying back to back. You don't, and then I guess LGP. You can call him trustworthy for sure, but that's it. And to sell out of another market, I need a front office to do that, and that's fine. Like, I 100% agree. Okay, yeah, I can go some to Fenerbahce, I can go some to Besiktas, I can go some to a South American club or a second division club or a third division club in England, whatever it is. But you have to have somebody who's making that decisions, and David Beckham has not done enough. Like, what is David Beckham going to do? He said, I think Michelle Kaufman is Miami Herald said that he's going to come in and take in a more active role in soccer operations, which I'm pretty sure his title is president of soccer operations, but he was sitting in England because of COVID for 12 months. I don't know what his background is to go and talk to other clubs in other countries, but it's a mess, man. It's just an absolute mess. And you have to get, if Matthias Pellegrini wasn't taking up a DP slot, I'm saying 100%. Look at Pavone and look at Pablo Piatti. Those are the two guys I want to bring into the team and put them on the left side. But you just can't do that right now because you're money tied badly, really badly. You don't have Pat Riley to get you out of this.
And even further than that, just look at the Copa Libertadores semifinals right now, and you have a whole slew of players that you could that you could bring.
Martin, listen, you know this too, right? Those players down there, they're hungry, man. They're always wanting different opportunities, and if they
want to get paid in dollars, that's the main point.
They want to get paid US, but yet I don't think. Not to say this front office doesn't know this, right? Because I don't even know who's the one behind the keyboards anymore. But if you see this and I see this, because there's just so much soccer at night in Miami time at 7 p.m. that somebody can watch. But it's like we know that South America plays soccer during these times, so I would hope somebody's watching it. But it's not all about getting the superstars overseas that are aging, man. You got to be able to build this team from some type of I don't know, like some type, not obviously superstar-esque, right? But you need like LAFC. They're going out. They're getting players that are hungry. They want to, they want to get showcased, right? And they're getting taught and they're getting coached. And you have something from top to bottom that you can see and say, you know what? They're building. You look at Miami right now. You can't say they're building. Right now, they're jumping ship, and they're trying to get back on the ship. You can't succeed in the MLS doing that, especially with the promises that you've given your fans.
And may I suggest another name, which he's young for a goalkeeper, but I think is finishing his stint at River soon enough. Franco Armani. He's 31 years old, and he has won everything he needed to win at River. And realistically, his age is not going to go to Europe. So why not maybe sniff around at the possibility? River is cash trapped right now. That's why they sold Prato to Feyenoord. Why not sniff around River and see if you can get Armani to come to the MLS, because he will automatically become the best goalkeeper in the league. And it's different than Messi because he plays for Argentina, but he wouldn't be affected as much by the deep in competitive level, because Argentina used to have a goalie in Sergio Romero that didn't even play for Manchester United, and then he came and played for Argentina regardless. So a goalie is different, and I'm telling you, Franco Armani is not expensive, and he knows Higuain. He gets along with the former River players, and he will be the best goalkeeper in the league, and he's attainable. All you need to do is pick up the phone and tell River, look, you're tens of millions of dollars in debt. You just sold your backup striker for pennies. I know you need money. How about I offer you $1 million for Franco Armani to arrive right now after the Copa Libertadores is done? Who says no? River doesn't say no. Armani doesn't say no, because it will be his last chance to be paid. And you have a franchise.
I don't think Inter Miami and David Beckham know that, though.
That's the problem. That's the problem. You don't have your people. You don't have a front office, or you don't have. I don't know what the scouting situation is. You don't have people like with the knowledge that Martin has of South America that I don't have. Right? You don't have those kind of people. Allegedly, I mean, you bring in Pellegrini and Carranza, but that was with your mind, and that was with your mindset that, after the Champions League in 2019, I'm going to bring in Marcelo Gallardo from River Plate, and then that completely failed and fell down the drain like that. That's why we were stuck with Alonso. I say stuck, but I respect the guy fully.
Gallardo is not coming to. He may leave River if he's eliminated, like it looks like he will be with River against Palmeiras, because they lost 3-0 in the first leg at home, and it was just humiliating. and everything comes to an end eventually. But if he does leave, he does one of two things. He holds out until after the 2022 World Cup, and he takes over in Argentina, or he goes and coaches in Europe. He's not gonna go to the MLS. Guillermo went to LA Galaxy as an exile of Boca Juniors after losing that final against River. But Heinze comes to Atlanta United because he's a different kind of guy. He loves to develop. He did so in Argentina, and he wants to do it in the MLS. He loves to develop players. But Gallardo is not that kind of guy. He wants the super top tier challenges, and Inter Miami isn't that.
That's not that, and that's where they failed to realize, I think. And lastly, with the goalkeeping situation, I'm kind of annoyed at the fact that there have been rumors about so many different goalkeepers coming to Manchester United after not Manchester United, Inter Miami, because the Romero from Manchester United, the backup keeper from Everton, but you have a guy in John McCarthy who stepped in for your team captain, by the way, and Luis Robles, who has now retired. Massive respect, big ups to you. It's a tough injury to come back from. He broke his leg and he's 36 years old. As a goalkeeper, that's about it. But anyway, John McCarthy comes in, and I'm not going to lie to you. I really like what I saw from John McCarthy. I don't think you go and spend your money on a goalkeeper right now. I don't think that if I'm sitting in the front office, if they want to hire me to sit in the front office, I'm not looking at Romero. I'm not looking at this guy from Everton. I'm not looking at Armani. I'm looking at guys that are going to play in the starting 11 and develop a good style of football, not a stopper, not a John McCarthy who has shown enough to make big saves like he did against Orlando when we won in the 90th minute, the double save off of his head. He's done more than enough, I think, to prove he's a starting role. And if you can save your bucks and you can go a different way and bring in an actual, a field player who can be serviceable, that's the way you should.
But why not? Armani is only 31. He could be here for 6-7 years.
But if you have John McCarthy who's 28, 29 years old,
you can compare McCarthy. You can compare McCarthy with the Argentina starting goalkeeper. You can't compare it. There is no comparison. The Armani, to make a basketball analogy, you want Armani is harder, and you're trying to trade for and you're trying to convince me to keep Lance Stevenson. Okay?
No, okay. Martin, I'm saying this. I don't need a goalkeeper right now. There are massive gaping holes in the roster. You don't have a partner with Matuidi because Ulloa failed all year. He lost his starting position because of it. You don't have a left winger because the Pellegrini experiment failed and Juan Agudelo is garbage. You don't have a left back. You sold Ben Sweat. You brought in a 22-year-old rookie. You don't have a right back. You have a rookie from last year. Figal might be the partner with LGP. Is Pizarro going to be your number 10? There are gaping holes in the starting 11 that don't have to do with the goalkeeper right now. And John McCarthy got you to the playoffs. He put you over the hump by making big saves towards the end of the year. Why do you go and spend money on a big-name guy? It doesn't make sense to me.
Because he's affordable right now. Like I said, River needs money. But let's ask Kai and Paul, who have been listening to us rant and rave here. Who do you want? Who do you guys want?
I'm not in the manager scene of looking at people, and definitely not as into as Austin is. So I would not be able. I've been letting you guys rant and go back and forth because I would not be able to give too much of a substantial, piece of information into this one. In just all honesty.
Listen, at the end of the day, all I want is for my club to just have a just a stable, direction. Because right now we are like we are a spinning wheel with the arrow just doing this, and the clock is ticking. And I agree. I would want Armani as a goalkeeper because that actually, to me personally, that kind of saves us from getting scored on so much, because God knows how much possession we'll be having with all those gaping holes in the entire team. But listen, we need to find a general manager right now, and I don't know where that search is. Paul, sorry that I cut you off.
Paul, what do you prioritize?
No, you good. Man, it's tough because really it's like you guys pointed out, like there's so many to start and kind of fill, but there's no sporting director, there's no GM. Like we're at this point, Beckham needs to really just take heed of this because there's really nothing work with. Like there's no money, and like it's like I kind of knew that team was kind of in a bad spot. But now that you guys have kind of talked about it and speeded out, like now I'm just like, wow, this team is actually really, really screwed, And with the season right around the corner, like, sheesh, man, like I don't know, guys. Like, I mean, it's good that we have guys like Martin on here who kind of keep an eye on South American talent, but man, like I'm honestly as dumbfounded and clueless as you guys on this.
But look, Inter Miami is lucky that there is no relegation in MLS. And that's part of the problem. There's no urgency. I mean, if you're not going to be relegated,
Great point,
I mean,
Ryan.
what's the
Excellent.
harm? Well, like there
You're
are no
selling jerseys. You're a global brand. You're selling jerseys. Who cares, bro? Like they're making their money.
The Rosa Negra is beautiful, right? So, but
I'll go pull it out.
Beckham may turn out to be a genius. I'm not going to underestimate someone that has been surrounded by so many great minds in football. Like he has played for such great coaches, and he has been around so many great people that I'm not gonna say he's gonna fail in his endeavor to improve this team, because he might just succeed. But I want someone that, coming back to the original point of being the Miami Heat, what does the Miami Heat do? They are ahead of the curve, and they don't need a number one draft pick to spot other teams' vulnerabilities and the players that are up and coming that nobody sees. Because the Cleveland Cavaliers need a number one pick, the Charlotte Hornets need a number one pick, but the New Orleans Pelicans need a number one pick, and they still win 30 games. But the Heat, they constantly win between 45 and 58 games, because they are able to bring in a Jimmy Butler when nobody thought that there was salary cap space to do so. They were able to choose Hero, Adebayo, and now Achua with mid-teens picks, and everybody praises them for it. But it's not like they just wave a magic wand and they find these players out of sheer like miracles. They put in the work, they go in, they scout, and they take care of knowing if those players fit the culture. We don't know what Inter Miami's culture is right now, so we don't know which players can come in, and that is the real problem. So
I have a
the
question
rest,
for you, Martin. I have a question. There's a counterpoint to about Alonso that Pedro Heiser, ex-former colleague of ours, used to say, and it was about how Diego Alonso did not know the league. Do you think that has anything to do with this, or is it just, does it have to do with knowing MLS and it being a different style of football, or is it just he failed as a manager?
I don't think you need to know the league to be a good coach. It helps, but you can have your own style, and you can impose your will upon the opponents that you have. Look at Bielsa.
Right.
Look at what Bielsa
Right.
did in Spain with Athletic Bilbao, and what he did in the Premier League with Leeds, what he's being praised for. But he didn't. I mean, obviously he's a football savant. He knows every single league everywhere, but one thing is to know the league from afar, and another one is to be in it.
Right.
But he arrived in the championship division of England, and he imposed his style, and he got promoted with his style, and now he's above the relegation zone with his style. He was able to go toe to toe with Manchester City and Liverpool with his style. You may like it or you may not. I personally am not a Bielsa fan per se, but I respect the fact that he goes and he sticks to his guns. So you don't need to be an MLS expert. Do you think Heinze knows the MLS? No, but he's gonna put his own imprint on Atlanta United, and that's gonna be a top 5 team this season.
How much? Here's the thing about Leeds United, though. When Bielsa came in, how much money and how many players did they get to bring in to help fit Bielsa's style?
They brought in players. They brought in players on the cheap. Their best player is Pablo Hernandez. He cost like $2 million.
But he was brought in under Bielsa. Inter Miami only had Matuidi, Pizarro, and Higuain brought in for the most, and LGP brought in for the most part under Diego Alonso that you could say maybe fit his style. But at the same time, you have a 37-year-old, however old Gonzalo Higuain is, who is slow as dirt.
He's 32. Why are you aging him so much? Yeah.
Well, he seems very old when he plays on the pitch. He's very slow.
He's very
for Alonso's pressing style, what is a Gonzalo Higuain gonna do in a pressing style where you need to attack the other team's back third?
I think it's the beard that makes Higuain look older. He turned 33 in December, actually. So happy birthday to him.
Well, are you going to disagree that he's a slow striker?
He is a striker past his prime. That's not arguable.
Okay.
But I mean, he's always been. He's never been dynamic.
No, right.
that hasn't been. I mean, look. To his credit, he's a pro's pro. It's not like he has a spare tire. He's just thick, okay? But
He's just
you also need to know that a striker lives on goals, and he only scored one goal, and it was on a free kick. There hasn't been a goal where you can say that there was a play that happened because of him. So
there was I can recall to Pizarro off the backfield that was at the top of the box, and I mean he was a decent playmaker, but that's not what I want Higuain to be doing. I do not want Higuain to be a playmaker in a team that needs to score goals. I don't want that. No. Listen, I love Higuain, but don't make me Higuain. Okay. Anyway,
this is depressing, guys. I'm not gonna lie, man. I mean, as being a member of Vice City, waiting almost 2-3 years for this moment, man, and then you see what happens and what's going on. It's disheartening, man.
As a symptom, let me tell you guys, as a symptom of what happens with Inter Miami, and it's very micro, it's little. You may not even notice it, but I have worked for teams that handle their social media side, and the day that you find that you quote unquote part ways with your coach, you don't post anything else on your social media feed, and they have just gone on like nothing happened, and their latest posts on Twitter have been about their win on E-League, and I'm like, is this really the day to boast about your success on the Cyber League of the MLS? I don't think so. So that speaks a little bit to the to where they are as far as where they want to head to, and what message they want to send to their fans.
Here, the thing is, though,
one question though that I did want to ask Kai, because since he watches a lot of Bundesliga, I've listened for the last couple of seasons. I've always been very fond of that league. I've seen a lot of youngsters come out of there. Listen, obviously we know Beckham's looking at it in England, right? But Kai, do you think there's any possible young guys maybe in that league that could actually fit in well in this team? But obviously we don't know the coach, so
that's all I was going to ask. Do you mean players or coaches in terms of like? So you're saying as players?
Correct, as players that you feel that they can fit. Let's say that David Beckham called Kai. Kai, give me a list of players.
One player that, there's a couple players, but one player that I would definitely go after, although I don't think he would go from the Bundesliga to the MLS, is Wu Yang-jung, who plays for FC or SC Freiburg right now. He is he was a former Bayern youth player and has been kind of getting his legs now in the Bundesliga. I believe he's a right winger, if I'm not completely mistaken, and at times he did play in the midfield a little bit for Bayern's youth team. I would go after him in complete honesty. I mean, there's a couple other players I guess you could the thing is that it's so hard to even pin any players because the players that are in America are going abroad. Why would players that are abroad in Germany that are young want to come here?
Give me someone who's 30, between 28 and 34 years old.
I still don't think that they would want to come here. That's the thing. It's just hard.
Fair enough. I mean, yeah.
We need to go to Germany with a boombox and ask them why they don't love us.
It's just the fact that, like, again, it's the thing that we had talked about before. There are players that are American that are going to play in Germany, going to play abroad, and there are players in just Europe that look at the MLS as a joke. Like that's just what it is.
Yeah.
Why I'm even at if I'm I mean, even I don't know how old Peter Galassi is, but I'm pretty sure he's in like his 30s. He's the goalkeeper for RB Leipzig.
Yeah.
Like if I'm in that point and I can still be making money in Germany or abroad internationally, why the hell am I coming to the MLS? If I'm considered like,
why do you think Wayne come here then?
Because nobody wants him.
Nobody wanted.
Okay, what about Mccarthy?
Nobody wanted him either. You went from playing in some of the highest level of football, and now you're like, I guess, yeah, you're in Inter Miami and you're in the MLS. I mean, at the same time though, like even with like Wayne Rooney, like past your prime, when you're past, when you're past everything, that's when you come to the MLS. Like that's just what it is. And again, like even bringing him up just as one of my favorite players, like the only old player that's come here to die in the MLS that's defied the death was Zlatan. Like the rest of them just come here and die. Like that's just what it is. Not obviously
Rooney
not.
did.
They don't.
Rooney.
Rooney
Rooney did not die in MLS.
He did not die. But like, come on, let's be real. He played for DC United. He had an insane cross to win them a game.
No. He was DC United's most important player, and then he moved on to Derby County to take on a player manager role. He did not die in MLS.
He didn't die, but like, come on now. Like, the MLS is where you go to die, even if you like. Nobody is sitting there going, "Oh, Wayne Rooney's doing a great job with Derby County," or no one was even talking about him at DC United much. And when you think about, come on, the national media, all eyes were on Zlatan Ibrahimovic the second that he came in. David Beckham the second came in. Even Higuain and Matuidi when they came in, like, and they were like, Higuain was still one of those guys that some people were excited, but come on, let's be real. All of it was.
This is the rarest situation of all time, by the way. Jack Harrison, who plays for Leeds United, this makes no sense.
But that's the issue. Why are you gonna?
It is the issue, right? Yeah.
And it's just hard because like we can sit here and talk about all these players that would want to come. I think maybe South America, and I'm sure Martin would have more on this, and even Manny. Like those players might be more willing to come to the MLS, and for whatever reason, just like even then, it's so hard to. If you're going to be able to have success somewhere else and be able to make a name for yourself, like why am I going to want to come to the MLS? What is it going to provide me? And then if you suck, you're just going to be deemed one of those players that like you came to the MLS to
it's not hard to follow South American football. Look, I'm going to tell you, like I have like it's not homework because it's not homework. You're really going to enjoy this, okay?
Right.
Next Tuesday at you're in Miami, right? Okay.
Yes.
So next Tuesday at 7:30 p.m. on beIN Sports, you have Palmeiras River. The first leg was 3-0, and I can assure you're gonna see frantic back and forth between a desperate River and a Palmeiras that's gonna wanna deal the knockout punch. And then on Wednesday at 5:15 p.m. Eastern. You have Boca Santos. They drew in the first leg 0-0.
For a show next Wednesday.
Yeah, so 0-0. They tied 0-0, and you're gonna see players like Soteldo, like Salvio, like Bisha, like Caio George. That you're gonna be amazed at the quality of soccer and
I'm not saying, but I'm not even saying that.
And you're gonna get drawn to it. And then on January 30th, it's the final at the Maracanã, the most mythical stadium in the world, and that is gonna be so intense. So,
right, but I'm not even saying that that the quality is less. I'm just saying what is the draw, and I guess you see more South American players come to the MLS, or even some like some European. It's just what is the draw? Why would someone want to come to the MLS? That's just the question.
Did they qualify for the 2021 Copa Libertadores or no?
No more Inter talk, bro. I needed to put on my country's club. We won the league once again this past month. So
congratulations.
Thank you.
But no, you're fine. there's so many Riddle Baku who's playing. I can't remember what team he plays for, but he's a right back. I think he weighs. Oh my god, I can't remember right now. He's a Germany international. He's 20 years old. Like he could be another potential player. But the question is like if I'm making strides, if clubs in Germany like Bayern, if clubs outside of Germany are coming after me at 20 years old and want me to play, like why the hell do I want to come to the Bundesliga? If I'm 30 plus and there are still people that are wanting to go get me, I mean, why would you come? Yeah. I mean, one of the players that I thought that was going to go from Bayern, just in terms of like the Bundesliga, like going from the Bundesliga to the MLS, was Arturo Vidal, and he went to Barcelona, and even now I think he's at Inter, if I'm not mistaken.
He's at Inter right now. He's at
Inter,
yeah.
Like
he was one of those guys that you could say, all right, well, he might go to the MLS down the road, but like
Alex Dana loves Vidal. He's a Vidal stan. I mean,
I liked Vidal a lot when he was at Bayern, but then he said that Barcelona was the best team in the world, and that was funny to me. So,
guys, may I share with you a quick soccer story with my club from Peru? So before COVID, we were last in the division. We fired the head coach. We stopped playing our older players. What happened during COVID? They got all the youngsters. Okay, they practiced on Zoom. Okay, they hired a coach that was in his 60s, but he had a very good way of being able to communicate, right, with younger players in order to play, what we call this the beautiful game. And in less than 2 months, when the season kicked off, okay, we went from last place to first place. Okay, and it was because they went ahead and they started putting in the younger guys and the younger players in the lower divisions from the club. Okay, that gave the club new life. It gave them something to look forward to, right? And then you had all the other teams that played the regular people that had them for a long time that were already at the top, including Alianza Lima, which, if you're not aware, Alianza Lima is like a top club in South America. They got relegated. Okay, that's like River Plate in Argentina getting relegated a couple of years back. It's unheard of. Okay, Sporting Cristal knew this. If they continued their ways of playing like this, they were going to get relegated. That costs money. That costs fans pain, especially in South America, and its reputation's on the line. And Martin's right. Inter Miami doesn't have to worry about none of those things. So when do we draw the line of saying enough is enough, guys? Like, you gotta, you gotta do something that shows you're worthy.
Do we become Minnesota United, or do we become FC Cincinnati? That's what it comes down to. Do we become a team that stays at the bottom of the league for who knows how long, and brings in a guy like Jurgen Locadia who thinks he's gonna ball out and then does nothing? Or do you become Minnesota United, who brings in serviceable guys and builds a good culture, and then can make a Western Conference final in 3-4 years?
You know who was their MVP? Bebelo Reynoso. They got him for nothing because he was a backup at Boca. They had scouting. They knew the situation, and they brought him in for less than $1 million, I believe.
And wait, it wasn't Columbus on the verge of being sold or being like put somewhere else, right? Like they were so close to not even being in Columbus. And you saw, right? The fans still stuck with them, and the ownership said, "You know what? I'm going to give it a shot, but I'm going to let my guys take care of what they have to do, and let me have the confidence in that." And I just don't feel that upper management had confidence in Diego Alonso from the get-go. You just don't fire a coach. Granted, it wasn't a great record, but you still made the playoffs. You have something positive to build on. And something happened along the way that obviously we'll never know, right? Because those things get kept inside. Or from the whole fake meeting of, you're fired, no, you're not. Then you wait till after the holidays to officially announce it. I just don't find that to be something professional.
Something that
it doesn't look professional. And this is, like I said, this club is a YMCA club right now. There's nothing professional about this club except the name David Beckham. And I'm sorry, a 10-year-old fan growing up in Miami, a soccer fan, he doesn't know who David Beckham is. No, a 10-year-old.
But you don't know.
Neymar is. He knows who Messi is, Ronaldo, Mbappe. He doesn't know who David Beckham is.
Lewandowski.
Oh, this guy, bro. Hold on. I'm gonna call you right here, bro. This guy.
I want to quickly. I mean, especially as someone like, obviously, I think of myself as an Inter fan, but I wasn't as like I didn't dive into it as much as you and Austin did and are still doing. But I know for me today, getting just even to the stadium that isn't going to be their stadium in the future, if whatever happens, right? Like just walking in there, and I know you guys have been in it, but walking in there with no fans and just looking at it, it was like as someone who even isn't that invested at the moment, was like, all right, whenever we're free from this horrible nightmare that's been since March, whenever we can have a packed stadium, it's just looking at that. Like I knew in that moment, like from what I heard from you, what I heard from Austin, like fans will be there and that place will be packed. And just the feeling of being there at a night game, even in a midday game, whatever it is, would be insane. And just thinking that from that point of view is also the point of view of thinking like, hopefully they can get this on the right track, because the environment and the atmosphere that you could have would be out of this world and people will support.
I completely agree. And I don't think that they're losing any fans right now.
No, I don't think that they're losing fans.
They're not losing fans. Like I don't know if that's what it is, but you do have to change things around in order to keep them around for longer. I mean, it's 1 year. You didn't get you were stripped away of your first ever home game. That it was 2-3 days away. 2-3 days away. March 10th or March 11th when it was shut down. March 14th is when the home game was supposed to be. They had a thing for season ticket supporters, and then the Rudy Gobert situation. You don't play for 100 and something days, and that's that. It's the most unprecedented, ridiculously hard to overcome years that we might ever see in MLS. Depending on
Listen, Austin, all I know that our post game shows are going to be quite ravaging, quite exciting, in a sense that we're going to have lots to talk about, because I have a feeling, my friend, we're going to be a lot of we're going to have a lot of results on the other end of the stick, right? So I'm not really expecting anything, but it is what it is.
Manage your expectations going forward into this year. I mean, we'll be here every week. There's going to be more signings coming up. There has to be. Once they sign maybe Phil Neville as the manager or whatever it's going to be, there will be more signings. We'll break it down. Hopefully we're not as gloomy and argumentative and sad as we have been. It's like more uplifting. I mean, personally, as a fan, Manny, I think you can agree with me here. We are going to be excited whenever we bring somebody in.
Of course. It's one more body that fills a position that we didn't have 10 hours ago.
Dude, I'm getting excited about this 22-year-old guy who was taken in the super draft, Patrick Segrist, that not one person has ever heard of in their entire lives other than his best friend at college. And I'm getting super excited about him, watching his tape from Marquette, like all these things. And then now I'm just in this rabbit hole. But once players come in, the excitement comes back. And that's why I said they're not losing fans. They'll pack up the stadium when they can. And it's going to hopefully there is brightness ahead, and we do end up being that Minnesota United instead of Cincinnati, but they have to show a lot more, and we're going to keep on covering that here on 5 Reasons Football. With that said, I think it was a pretty good show, guys. A lot to go over, and we're probably going to do it again next week. We're going to have, I guess, some semifinals next week in Copa Libertadores, Martin.
Yeah, like I said, next Tuesday and Wednesday. That's gonna be
7:30
really good. Then you have the Copa Sudamericana final on the 23rd and the Libertadores final on the 30th, and then you have the Club World Cup with Bayern Munich and Tigres and either Boca, Palmeiras, River, or Santos. So remember, last year Flamengo and Monterrey took Liverpool to the limit. Either of them could have eliminated one of the best teams in the world. So don't underestimate the teams from the Americas.
Don't be surprised if Bayern goes down early to any of the teams in the Club World Cup.
Bayern is still three levels above Tigres or Palmeiras or River or Santos.
I'm just watching them closely.
And
right now,
to be serious for a second before we wrap up. Today, the United States had over 4,000 deaths because of COVID-19 for the first time. So I am pleading for anybody watching this show, mask up, be careful, because the vaccine is here, but we're not out of the woods yet. The numbers are just going up, and we all know somebody that's been affected by this. So even if we can't enact policy or make the vaccine come faster, we can be careful. So just mask up, put your favorite team's mask on, and be careful. That way we can be on the stands cheering on our favorite teams sooner rather than later.
Also,
Without
also, guys, next week we'll do like a quick recap on all the leagues. I know that the leagues have already began again, and I know that the Champions League as well will be starting up soon. What else we have in the soccer world? I know World Cup qualifiers are going to continue soon for South America. Europe begins in the fall, so obviously the beautiful game doesn't stop, but there's a lot that we'll be able to cover.
On Saturday, this is a game to look out for. I think it's just going to be a lot of fun. FA Cup, Tottenham versus 7th tier Marine AFC. 7th tier club is taking on Tottenham, and Tottenham will be away from home. And I think that's really exciting. I love like the cup magic and lower league teams coming in trying to knock off Premier League teams. I think they're the lowest club in a really long time to make it this far into the third round. So that's a game I would try and get into. But with that said, Anthony, I want to get to you, Anthony. I know I see you in the comments. Go on my Twitter. I talked a little bit about Neville on Onside Radio today, and I'm probably going to do more of it if he does end up coming in. I have a lot of thoughts on that. I'm sorry, we hit our hour limit, but we will be talking about it at least maybe sometime next week, or I might do a short video on it for the channel. So I would go on my Twitter, go on the 5 Reasons Football Twitter. The links are here and all the way down and up. You'll be able to find it, but I will give my thoughts on Neville and all of that kind of stuff going forward. With that said, Happy New Year, everybody. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you sometime next week, maybe 2 shows to wrap up the Premier League or big leagues, and we'll do maybe a Libertadores show and things like that. And if there's more Inter Miami news, we'll obviously be there for that. But remember, subscribe to the YouTube page, 5 Reasons Sports Network. Follow the 5 Reasons Football Twitter, the 5 Reasons Sports Twitter. Heat season is in full swing. Dolphins off season is already going crazy. Draft is coming up in April. All that kind of fun stuff. And Miami Hurricane stuff too with Paul. No more Brevin Jordan, which is kind of sad, but good for him.
at Martin Bader SP on Twitter.
Yeah, Martin, Manny, Paul.
Watch Union Berlin in the Bundesliga.
Real Madrid without Karim Benzema because of a stupid sex scandal still going on.
Oh boy, yeah.
God damn it, Valbuena.
Yeah, all right. Well, listen, we're gonna head out, guys. Thank you so much. You guys were saying goodbye. Thank you.
Guys, mask up.